Good day, everyone. Today is Wednesday, April the 14th. It's 9 a.m. here on the West Coast. I'm Martin Gagel with Radius Research. Today, we welcome ProntoForms, ticker PFM, one of the original SaaS companies out there here in Canada. We've got Alvaro Pombo, CEO and founder of ProntoForms, and Dave Croucher, CFO, joining us today. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking the time, and let's hear the story.
Thank you, Martin, for the opportunity. Thanks to all the listeners, and let's share this story with you guys. Forward-looking statements. I'm pretty sure you guys are all gurus about what it says there. So let me start here with the company. So look, we've been in business for a while. I'll say that the first 8 years of this company were all about a market that devices weren't there. And it was hard to see it. I used to work for Palm, and I was a CIO before that, working for a large telecommunications equipment manufacturer in Canada. And then, I mean, really, we all were drinking the Kool-Aid, really, literally. And it's up until 2010 when the iPad arrives, 2007, that the iOS comes to the market, that the company really starts happening. From then on, it's been a great ride, as you can see, good continuous compound growth. And throughout this journey, we started with some very small companies at the beginning as we started to go to market with operators being AT&Ts of the world, selling all those iPads in those early days. We ended up with a lot of small businesses that needed the product, and some others were sold the product or really pushed the product. So we ended up with a ton of customers and lots of them with not knowing what to do with the product on their side. So rocky start, in other words. After that, obviously, the small medium business wasn't necessarily what gave us the best product market fit. I mean, I'm an enterprise guy. That's been my background. And I kept my eyes and my ears very close to the ground when we started seeing some of these large logos emerged, is when our market started to really materialize for us. So large companies is what we focus on. And I'm going to build this slide quickly. So what do they look for? I mean, this is a world where a lot of things are changing at the same time. Number one, people. A lot of young people is what those field technicians and gals and guys that ultimately are in the field helping the customers, people that are doing some very sophisticated tasks, because our primary market is companies that have complex equipment. And what that translates into is a lot of work flows and business that happens in the field and sophisticated workflows for those. So a lot of young people and a lot of change of demographics. Technology, as I said, has become now readily available, and more has been going through the pipe, or it's here really. And on the financial side, a lot of these large companies, and I will describe some of them for you in a second, they have realized months ago that the services is where a lot of the margin is, and they have put a lot of more financial resources in ultimately increasing the productivity in the field. And the customer expectations have radically changed. Everybody has the Amazon delivery model in mind. And there was a key accelerator here. And I think COVID has brought to the minds of people, and in the minds of people, frontline worker or first line worker is something that we all know how to spell today, probably not that much 14 months ago. So the reality of everything that is going on in the field is that there is a need for more and more of these, of what we have right there on the screen, which is, I would say, secular changes in the economy that have created more demand for more automation in the field. I just water my mouth when I read what President Biden is proposing. You guys pick the number between $1 to $7 trillion that is going to be deployed into infrastructure upgrades in the US. And when I look at it, I say, every single thing they're proposing to do, from changing a network to improving utilities to increasing the delivery of anything, is done by our target customers. So I think the world is definitely moving to a very interesting dynamic around this automation of these workflows. So let me tell you a little bit about those workflows. How do they look like? These are workflows that, first of all, they have to be simple to create. Otherwise, it's impossible to deliver them in the field. There are not enough Java developers in San Francisco, yet alone in the field, trying to automate a workflow for a field organization. So these workflows have to be on the basis of being simple. And that's why, since we started the company, I had this experience. I lived this when I worked at Exxon. It had to be an edge capability, something that resides at the edge of the organization, easy to automate, easy to create. And what this really talks about is we've been, in this low code application platform world, and we are a field focused one, and profiled by Gartner, and we're in their magic quadrant, is because it's a big business that is the minimum requirement to deliver the story. So now, let me talk about what this frontline worker platform does. You have had in your at your home someone who has come to install, let's say, a router in your place. Now, those workflows that kind of field service person performs, they're very simple, and those are the ones that I think automation and drones and things will replace. What these individuals need to go to your home to deliver a router and connect it to a network. Those are workflows that today, they require some safety, even more today in COVID days, and they need to be effective, but efficiency here is going to transform that part of those workflows to a lot more automations. The workflows that I'm referring to is, now think about those guys that you see climbing a pole to inspect a transformer, or someone who's going to a hospital to install an MRI from Philips. Very different story. So let me walk through what the platform needs to address. As I said many times already, the workflow. The workflow is a sequence of steps that have to be taken into consideration. They're complex steps. Some of them yield some data that requires further consideration. So skip logic, complexity, decision-making as you go through it, and presentation of contextual information so that person in the field can do their task not only effectively, but now safely. Safety is a huge component. Every single person in the field cares about their safety, and safety is paramount, not only for them, but for their bosses. And we support multiple safety protocols, workflow forms, etc., around compliance and different inspections and things that have to take place as they perform their tasks. Then there is training, and training is very important. And again, the word compliance pops up again. When you deliver contextual training in the hands of these technicians, it becomes very relevant training, knowing that someone that is going to enter this stage of the workflow required at least certain certifications, or being able to provide a contextual manual to be consumed as part of their task. Then it's collaboration. A lot of remote working, the same thing we're doing right now, can happen in the field, and it's happening in the field. And we interface with protocols and with capabilities that enable more of that collaboration. But what we add value to is that we provide the context. We know where in the workflow that person is, so he or she can relay content back to the central location to make, again, the collaboration more effectively. And last but not least, is a lot of analytics and reporting. There is a lot of data with context, like where is this person? How fast are they answering questions? Are they really answering them in front of the equipment or somewhere else, etc.? So as you can envision, this is a very powerful platform that is driven by fundamentally enabling the safety and the effectiveness with simplicity. I use that word over and over again because of the circumstances in the field do not allow for complexity, number one. Plus, I've never seen a winner in the software business that had won the battle against competitors because they're more complex. That's not really how things happen in software. Simplicity always wins. So examples, I already mentioned quite a few, just to give you more of them. Pacific Gas and Electric inspects all their gas meters after a big accident that occurred there. Using our product, we're also in the operations for electricity as well for them on the power side. So a lot of those fire controls and things that they're doing to make sure that the infrastructure and the network is compliant. It's done using our product. Johnson Controls, big HVAC and equipment manufacturer, incredible ability to do a lot of things in the field. They are using our product core to many operations. And just to give you a sense of what happens in our product, every second, at least one form is filled with an average of 37 questions. Okay, so hopefully you got a sense for what we do and how we do it and the premises of how we do it uniquely. And behind the scenes, we have a powerful SaaS financial model. We started since day one with this model, high growth subscription. Even when the cloud wasn't called the cloud, we were already selling subscriptions. That's all we've done all our lives. The operating leverage is very good, strong gross margins in the 90% range, 90, 91, 89s. So we've proven this financial model and self-sustaining. We all stay always very close to cash break even. We have about $7 million in the bank and we lose very little. And we've always been in this process and in this approach of building the company, of staying very close to profitability, not being profitable because we believe in growth. That's our hypothesis. This is about growth but reasonable growth. We don't bring millions of dollars every day into a company and raise money every day to just go deploy it, keep trying and iterating. We have built a company on a high growth mode, but in a more rational way, if you want to put it like that. So speaking of growth, this is the growth profile of the company, 27% quarter over quarter in 2019, 2020. We definitely had a COVID effect, as you can see it in Q2 2020. We had customers like Air Canada, Air Transat, and people who had suffered through this pandemic. But the reality is that we focus on four main verticals: medical equipment manufacturers, heavy equipment like Johnson Controls and Otis and others like that, utilities, as I mentioned before, and oil and gas, natural resources, which is the whole energy sector, which have proven very resilient and very strong growth, primarily coming from those verticals. So when you look at what's made behind the scenes, the base of our install base, there has been a huge transformation going underneath. As I said, we started with a lot of small businesses that were buying month to month. As you probably have seen on our announcement on our quarterly earnings, we finished that relationship with AT&T and we got rid of a lot of those customers as well that I was referring to, non-using, paying month to month, 1 or 2 users, very different mix. And you will see that the base will transform even further as time goes by. But the information that appears here is even without that transformation, 39% of our accounts are enterprise, and with a very good profile of growth. When we look at the unit economics, which is the key in any of these businesses, you will see that our focus is on the enterprise. We define it as 2,500 employees and higher. We have about 147, that number keeps on growing, of those enterprises. And they have a very good net retention rate. And on the ones that have deployed more than $100,000 of ARR, they have an even better net retention rate, very strong, even in the COVID days. So let me describe to you, if it is a business that has such a great net retention and expansion, which is the key word in our business. So how a typical expansion looks like. This is one of the largest customers we have, a heavy equipment manufacturer that started with a small deployment in North America. There was an accident that occurred in Hong Kong. They decided that they needed our product to prevent further issues like that. So we were deployed in Hong Kong. After that, we yield an entire deployment throughout North America, more Asia right after that. Then a planned expansion in North America, more North America with a renewal that increased more the footprint, more Asia. And we're currently sitting in about 14,000, 13,000 subscribers in that account. So a mix of use cases. So the product expands, I said horizontally, by that meaning use case within multiple geographies. And it also is a capability, as I described, a company like this that has about 180 different workflows supported by our product. So the use case expansion is another axis that accelerate the footprint and the expansion that we own in those customers.
Alvaro, sorry,
Yes.
can you go back to the last slide?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I don't understand. These numbers, are these dollars or number of users?
Yeah, sorry, dollars, ARR bookings, okay?
So you started in 2015 with, call it 75,000 bookings in North America, then you added 42 in Hong Kong later in the following year. And then in 2020, you added 126,000 additional US.
Yeah, and these are all incremental to that base.
Okay. All right, thanks.
No, thank you, Martin. So when you look at when we start profiling this and how fast is it happening at the beginning, from initial purchase, which is the blue, to the yellow being under 100K, it used to take some time. It's getting shorter, as you can see here. But what's important is to get them over the 100K of ARR. And that's a milestone. We could have picked anything. And as you can see, it starts happening faster. And the light green is above 100K. And we continue to see that. So where we invest dollars and resources is obviously there is a land component, new logos, and new logos we're aiming to these sophisticated enterprises, which primarily have, generally speaking, in our vertical, sophisticated equipment. We land those in a small deployments. We are not selling to IT, we sell to the line of business. Line of business brings us into IT. IT loves us, very secure capability. I used to be a CIO for many years of my life. And we're very friendly with IT, but it's the line of business that brings us in, because in anybody who has worked in any of these type of organizations, the field is quite autonomous, and the field has a lot of respect and a lot of cloud in the operations of any of these businesses. So just to give you an idea, a business like this is about 30 to 100,000 employees. And the math that I usually have is between a third to half of the companies in the field, and about a third of that population is a target to our product. And we've seen that. We haven't reached maximum capacity in many of these organizations yet. There is still a lot of growth. And as the product evolves, there is more growth story in it. So now go to the numbers and the financial part of it. As you can see, throughout the years, we've managed the company very consistently with high gross margin. We deploy the majority of that money, about 50% in sales and marketing for growth, focus on enterprise. The R&D spending continues to be, flat, and it's starting to decrease slightly as time goes by. But there is a product that exists, extremely reliable, fresh new product. In 2011, we rewrote every single line of code of the product. We took a repositioning of how we build it, and the ability of how we build the product radically changed. and we're in a very fresh product that innovates extremely well. And on the G&A side, keep on decreasing those costs, and that's the operation model that we deploy. Now, it's from a perspective of operating cash flow. I mean, you can see left-hand side of this graph is 2020. So growth continued to go at a very good rate. The margin that I referred to and the op loss, I mean, we keep it very close to profitability. And as we've been also adding these contracts to our base, because they're no longer any month-to-month as we used to sell at the very beginning of time. They're multi-year contracts. Deferred revenue obviously becomes a very important part of the story. Cash as of December 31st, 7.7 million. And behind the scenes, a strong team and a very strong culture in the company. Culture that has evolved quite well throughout these COVID days. A lot of communications, a lot of good ethos. I would put it like that. I mean, a very clear, defined objective on how we operate, and people with experience and people with long tenures. Okay, we hire a lot of young people as well that grow through the ranks, and we're very proud of that. And if you have a minute to look into any of the LinkedIns and any of those things that reflect a lot more the culture of the company, I'm very proud of what we built. It's not me alone. It's a team of people that endorse a team approach and a team development, which has been very beneficial for the company. Behind the scenes, a strong board. Terry Matthews as chairman. Phil Deck, many of you might know him. Experience as CEO of 2 high-tech companies, small cap investor, very experienced guy. Ed O'Gonick, he was CEO of a public Bridgewater, did another couple of stints successfully. Scott Burke, we recently added, you probably have seen a press release about him, former CEO of ServiceMax. ServiceMax is one of the gorillas in the space of field service automation. He left after the acquisition by Silver Lake, and he has joined our board. I'm very, very happy of having him on board. Very experienced and go-to-market for these kind of solutions, and adding a lot of value. Strong board, and if I summarize right now the investment highlights, I believe we have a leading product in a growing mobile enterprise market with a predictable and growing recurring revenue, with a strong expansion from enterprise customers, cash flow annuity build up with high customer retention rates, strong operating leverage, as I said before, strong technology and go-to-market at a time where there is a lot of green space here, and there is a lot of room to grow here. In a place and in a market that we waited for a while. I saw it very, very early. If I made one big mistake was going into it too early. Hindsight is 2020, but it taught us a lot, and we know this market very well. And as I said, I think it's a very large market opportunity. I leave this financial overview there for a second if there are any questions. If not, it will be in the presentation, but I'm not going to walk you through a lot here. And ownership, I'll basically describe it in the following way. There are 2 big shareholders that Terry Matthews and Eduardo Pacheco, from friend of mine from Colombia, who sold half of his bank to Scotiabank and made an investment identical to Terry on ProntoForms. They own a good part of the story. From then on, we have some very loyal and great institutional investors that they buy, they hold. There is not a lot of float, but it's a market for the stock that is being evolving, and it's being created as we go. And but everybody likes the story, likes the trajectory of it, and we keep on executing under the same premises. So, Martin, that's everything I have here on the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you guys, and opening for any questions you might have.
All right.